Welcome to this course on business modeling and business strategy. My name is Alex Genedinik and I'll be your instructor. In this video, I'll tell you a little bit about what to expect from the course, how it's going to flow, a little bit about my background in this field, and we'll start right away. Well, I've been in the business planning and modeling field for the last 15 plus years. Starting with, I created popular mobile apps for business planning and modeling. Then I've coached over 1,000 people over a number of years. And I've helped many people create successful different business models that they would go on to create successful businesses with. And in this course, I'm going to take you through that entire journey so that you're comfortable creating a business strategy. Here's how it's going to work. First, of course, we're going to learn about the basics. What is a business model? Why is it important? What are examples of common business models? Then we're going to talk about some business model templates like the business model canvas, which you might have already heard of. And then we're going to get to the most exciting part, is your own business planning modeling. Because in the business modeling, business planning world, business strategy world, the most exciting and fun part is to strategize. Creating an innovative strategy that no one has thought of. Imagine being Uber in the world of taxis. That's business model innovation. You're creating something entirely new just with a kind of a light bulb moment. And I'll enable you to have those aha moments, not by accident or strokes of luck, but by understanding how to move around different parts of a business strategy, so that the majority of the business strategy can stay intact. Think of taxi and Uber. Mostly, it's the same. You're still having the clients take a car and get from point A to point B. But some of the logistics take advantage of some new technology, some new consumer behaviors, and suddenly you have a new entirely business model. And I'll show you how to do that for any business idea. So you can fluently play chess where other people play checkers, and create business strategies that win in the long term. And this is the most intellectually stimulating, the most fun part of it. It's almost like molding something new in business, is to be a business strategist. And that's exactly what you're going to be able to do fluently by the end of this course. So welcome, and let's begin. Before we start discussing business models, we have to define what a business model is. And I looked through a number of authoritative sources and synthesized a single definition that we're going to use in this course. So, according to the Harvard Business School, they define business model as a plan for creating and delivering value to customers while making a profit. That sounds a little cryptic and also extremely vague. Now, they do offer some secondary points. A successful business model allows a company to charge a price for a value, bringing in enough money and continue to do so over time. Again, it's a little general. They do provide some elements of a business model like customer value proposition, profit formula, key resources, etc. But again, it's not so useful because it's very theoretical. Now, then I went to ChatGPT and AI and asked it, what is a business model? Because I was looking for a good expression of what a business model is so we can use it practically. But it didn't give me a satisfactory answer. Here's what ChatGPT gave me. A business model is a framework or blueprint for how a business creates, delivers, and captures value. Again, you see it's this, how a business creates, delivers, and captures value. Okay, but that's incredibly theoretical and not so useful. The second sentence here may be a little bit more helpful. It explains how a company operates, generates revenue, and sustains itself over time. In essence, it outlines how the business makes money while providing value to customers. Again, very theoretical. So I synthesized these definitions and a few of the other ones I found online to give you a more practical one. So let's read my definition of the term business model together. It's how every key element of your business, we'll come back to that, key element, let's bold that together. So it's how every key element of your business works and interacts with other key elements of your business. Let's bold that. In order to function in a way that sustains itself over time. Let's bold that. Now you'll ask, what are key elements? I'm going to show them to you in a second. But the idea is that the business sustains itself over time. Some people will say the business has to generate revenue. Not every business sustains itself by generating revenue. So I took that component of revenue out of this business model definition to keep it broad. But what we want are two things. We want to examine how key elements of our business interact well together and work well individually. And we want to make sure that the entire operation sustains itself over time and thrives. These are the key requirements for a business model. Now, let's take a look at what the key elements are. Now, before we start reading them, it's incredibly important that you understand that different businesses have different key elements. Some businesses have some key elements, other businesses have others. Like if you sell digital products, you don't have to deal with inventory. So not every business has all the key elements that are going to be listed here. But what you want to do is pick the ones that your specific business has and make sure that it functions well within itself and works well strategically with other key elements. So let's take a look at the key elements. The first one is, of course, the value you offer. Either your product or service, you have to offer some value to someone. Every business or organization has to have this. Otherwise, there's no reason for it to exist. The second key element is how you create that value. Maybe by offering a product or a service. Maybe it's with intellectual property that you offer. But the important part here is that you have to be able to create that value. After you create the value, key element number 3 is the logistics of how the products or the value come to you and then to the customers. It may be through digital delivery. It may be through physical delivery, by shipping. It may be another way, but how do you deliver the value? Key element number 4 is how you promote your product or services. Key element number 5 is your distribution channels, online websites, retail stores, third-party distributors, etc. Number 6 is revenue streams. You see, a revenue stream is a key element, not your business model, because many people define the word business model by saying your business model is how you make money. Well, not quite. The revenue stream is just one of the key elements, but there are many key elements that have to all work well together. Now, key element number 7 is your management and leadership team. Key element number 8 is your cost structure. Is incredibly important to have all of these key elements function in a way that is profitable or will be profitable in the long term. That's why it's so important that they work well together and not just on their own, because you have to create the value, deliver the value, maintain your team, and then sell the product or service in a way that hopefully keeps you profitable. Now, of course, many business models operate for many years in a way that loses money, but often it's by design, because maybe the company wants to make a lot more money in the long term, so they sacrifice short-term profits. But all this has to be planned for in your cost structure. Now, key element number 9 is your set of key activities. For different businesses, it's very different, but maybe you have manufacturing, which is a really key activity. For many business, marketing is an incredibly important key activity. Or for many businesses, it's actually customer service, which is a key activity, because without that, customers just won't buy, right? So you need to provide great customer service. And then you have key resources. Maybe you have intellectual property resource. Maybe you have financial resources. Maybe it's human resources, like you have industry experts working on your team. But those should also be planned and accounted for, so that in the end, when you're molding your own business model, every important element of your business is accounted and planned for. That's why we have the key elements, so that you can understand which parts of the business will be important, which parts maybe don't apply to your business, but you can plan for all of them so they can work together, you see, so that your business can be sustained over time. Now, of course, we never plan a business model from absolute scratch. We have previous examples. Maybe you've heard of the e-commerce business model, the affiliate business model. These are pre-existing patterns. For example, if you have an e-commerce business, There are e-commerce business models, or if you have an online business, the freemium business model may be useful so you can borrow many existing elements and strategies from previous companies who've already created such businesses successfully, so you don't have to start from scratch. So in the next video, I want to show you an example of how you would take an existing business model, like the freemium business model, and apply it to a new situation so that you're never starting from absolute scratch and you're never reinventing the wheel, but taking pre-existing industry wisdom and learnings and standing on the shoulders of giants so you can build your own business model that takes advantage of all the industry wisdom while at the same time is customizable exactly for your unique situation. So let's do that in the next video. In this video, let's go over arguably the most popular online business model, which is called the freemium business model. If you've spent any time online, you've probably used websites that use the freemium business model. Let me explain to you how it works. The websites that use the freemium business model, as it says in the title here, in the name of it, freemium. So you give something away substantial that is free, and hopefully it's long-term usable. For example, most websites, you can just come to them and use them for free. Or many websites have a free trial, or even paid websites have a part of their site that's always free. And then when people love that website and use it regularly and want to use more features, then those websites offer something paid. So it's a part free, a part premium. Mobile apps also work on this principle. Most mobile apps are free, but when you download apps and use them for a while for advanced features, you have to pay. And that's the freemium business model. It creates a loyal user base, and then eventually some of the users become paying customers. So as a business, that's what you're relying on. You're giving away something for free, hoping that you'll create a loyal user base, and some of them will pay. And very quickly, let's talk about the benefits of this. The first benefit is it allows people to try your product or service for free, because many people might be buyers, but they don't know if they're going to buy and they're skeptical. So if they try it for free and they like it, they'll be more likely to buy. Plus, making things free makes things easier for people to try it, because if your product has a free offering and a competitor's product doesn't have a free offering, whose product do you think consumers will try first? 95% of consumers will try the free option first. And that's why the freemium model is so popular. It really suffocates your competitors who don't have a free option, because consumers will almost always try the free option first. So essentially, it makes all the potential customers flock to your business, which is so great, because then eventually you can convert them to paying clients. Now, let's talk a little bit about why it works. It works online for the most part, not only, but mostly, because the cost of online products is free. For example, when you make a software, there's nearly zero cost to give it to a second person, a third person, a millionth person. Just a little bit of maybe server fees, but nothing like if you had a physical widget, it would take a lot of money. You need to buy materials, you need to manufacture everything from scratch, your second, third item. For digital goods, it's easier. You just copy and paste. So the cost to recreate the second and third and fourth product is near zero. And that's why it's cheap for the company to give it away. But as we explore business models, we also want to look at which elements of certain business models can we use in other businesses. Remember, each business model has key components, and we can swap them and try to interchange them for one another. So because the freemium business model is so successful online, we can think about how this model is used in brick and mortar businesses, because if you have a brick and mortar business and you can apply the freemium principles, or at least some of the elements, maybe that can help to unlock so many of the freemium benefits. So let's say you have a gym Many gyms offer a free trial, or a friend has a guest pass that they can bring a friend. These are all ways to try it for free, because if one person uses the gym, there's not extra cost to the gym owner. Now, a gym owner may object and say, well, people are just going to try to use it for free and abuse this free option policy. That's up to the individual gym owner to decide, obviously, but the freemium option can be available. Similarly, if you have a physical product that you're selling, well, many companies offer a free sample. Like companies offer free samples of makeup, of perfume, of even food. Like coffee shops sometimes offer free samples, or restaurants offer free samples. It's not very common, and it's not the exact version of the freemium, because usually in the online world, the freemium option is perpetually and long-term available, whereas that's really hard to recreate in the brick and mortar scenario. But at least we are approximating the freemium model. And of course, an element of the freemium model that you see in the brick and mortar situation is free consultations. Like lawyers provide free consultations. Business coaches sometimes provide free consultations. A lot of business owners provide free consultations for the first 15 minutes, 30 minutes, however long, just so that the potential client knows if it's going to be worthwhile to buy. It makes the purchase easier. But you may think, well, this really is a poor man's example of the freemium model in the brick and mortar scenario. So let me give you a few additional ones that include the long-term aspect of it. Here are some examples of that. Some museums have some exhibitions that are perpetually free, or they have like one day out of the month, there's free access to anyone. That gets people who may never come to the museum to try it. And of course, if a business owner is brave enough, they can make a part of the business permanently free. Consider the gym example. Let's say I opened the gym. In the beginning, not that many members come anyway, and nobody wants to go to a gym that's empty with very few people working out. It just has kind of low energy. So you could just give away 3 days out of the month, you come for free. Make an account, 3 days out of the month for free. Or maybe there's group classes, so you take 2 group classes a month for free. Again, these are people who wouldn't pay anyway, but eventually, if the gym is great enough, and if you make people feel really welcome in the gym and offer them the greatest service of all the other gyms around, they can warm up to pay. Not everybody will pay, but some people will pay that otherwise would go to a different gym. But again, at the end of the day, the freemium business model is a little limited in the brick and mortar scenario because of a few reasons. It costs money for the business to provide free services or products in most cases. There are also scaling challenges. Like if everybody in the neighborhood comes to your restaurant where you give free samples just for the free samples, or the gym just for the free gym, pretty soon you'll run over capacity, because brick and mortar locations just can't scale to millions of people or thousands of people. And of course, there's the ruining of perceived value. Like if you give something away for free, people think, well, it's free, I don't want to pay anyway. So business owners may decide not to provide free options because it lowers perceived value of their offering. Nevertheless, just for the sake of the example of how business models can be very flexible, as a business owner, you don't want to immediately close your mind to the freemium business model or elements of other business models. You want to consider, can I try this? Can I try that? Can I try this? Maybe some version or augmentation of a certain element of the freemium model can work for some part of your business. And if so, you can reap the benefits of the freemium business model. Because naturally, if I asked any business owner, would you like for most of the potential customers to try your service first? The answer would be yes. The details of it can be worked out, but the answer is yes. People want most of the people to try their product or service, and that's what the freemium model does best. With this video, I want to introduce you to something called the 3-sentence business plan. It's an extremely easy way to shape your business plan and your business model. And it's an idea that I came up with which is in my business planning book, which is my popular book that's used in a number of major US universities. And the reason it's popular is because it makes planning your business plan and your entire business model very easy. Let me show you how it works with this example. So the first sentence of your 3-sentence business plan will be about your product. So here we have, just as an example, a gourmet Italian restaurant that you want to start. Okay, simple enough. Now the second sentence is how you'll promote that business. In the case of a restaurant, the marketing strategies are relatively well known. Google search, flyers, ads, and Instagram, and perhaps other social media marketing. Maybe you'll add things like passerby foot traffic or friend referrals, or the quality of the food is a marketing strategy. But generally speaking, you have a predefined set of marketing strategies that apply to restaurants. It's all well known. And of course, the third sentence is the financials. If you haven't started your business, your financials would discuss how much money you have to raise in order to begin that business. But if your business has started, your financials would look like how much money you're generating now, what's the average order size, what's the average cost, how many clients you need per month in order to achieve various milestones, like to break even, to earn a small profit, a larger profit, etc. And essentially, this is all the planning you need, while keeping in mind that there are many other components, like you need to build out a team and hire and do remodeling and find the right place and etc., etc. But those are details that get figured out later. They are important, but not core. The 3-sentence business plan really helps you focus on the core of your business, and it's much easier than other business modeling blueprints. Like you've seen earlier in this course, and you'll see later in this course, that business modeling can get complex. This is the simplest possible way. And in the next video, let me give you a few more examples of these, just so that you understand how this works and how you can begin applying this example, the 3-sentence business plan, to any business that you encounter, whether it's a business idea or an established business. In this video, let's go over some popular or well-known companies and just talk about what their 3-sentence business plan might look like, so you can see how simple it can be when you look at just the most important aspects of a company's business. Here, we're looking at Uber, the very popular ride-sharing company. What's their product? Obviously, it's the ride-sharing, it's taxi service. What's their marketing? They got a lot of publicity, they ran a lot of ads, and they provide the best service in the industry, arguably similar to Lyft, but they're certainly a leader. And so because of that, when people need a ride-sharing service, Uber is one of the first ones people consider. Additionally, one of the top factors in their quality is the availability of rides around a person wherever they might be in the world. So the other part of their marketing is how they recruit drivers. And the best recruitment tool is how much money drivers can make. And drivers can make more money on Uber because there are more riders on Uber. This is an example of a marketplace business model where you have two different types of people, and when you connect them, it makes both of their experiences better. And when you get critical mass of them, that product becomes good. It's very similar to an online course like you're taking now. When there's enough students and enough teachers, it creates critical mass enough to create a good learning environment. And obviously the finances of this business are very basic at their core, because Uber just takes a cut of every transaction. How much of the cut is in the details, but generally there is a very well-defined revenue model. Similarly to Airbnb, at which we are looking now, it's the same thing. It just brings renters to people who own properties. It brings them together. It has the most properties and the most people looking for places to rent. And again, they got a lot of publicity. They're a household name now, and they take a cut of every transaction. It's the same on a lot of popular sites online. For freelancing, it's Fiverr and Upwork. Those sites work on the same principle. Marketplaces like YouTube or Amazon work on the same principle. They bring providers and consumers together and figure out how to make money during the transaction. Sometimes it's through the ad, sometimes it's through a commission. But let's look at a different type of a business. For example, I have a t-shirt store online. It's kind of defunct. I don't have time to really work on it, so it just kind of stays there. But for an example, it's a good example because this is an e-commerce business model where there's a certain product. Okay, the product is unique because it's Wave If You Like brand. Everything is Wave If You Like. Wave If You Like beer, or Wave If You Like SEO, or Wave If You Like dogs, whatever. That's the product. It's unique. What are the marketing strategies? It's viral because it's social. And the other marketing strategy for e-commerce is search engine optimization, meaning people find this kind of a store from searching Google, and also promotion on social media. And also, of course, running ads. Very, very common marketing strategies for an e-commerce business. So you see, it really fits the 3-sentence business plan really well, where there is a product, the t-shirts, the marketing that I listed, search engine optimization, ads, and social media and virality. And then the finances. The finances are basic. I basically have to make a t-shirt for less money than I sell one. So I sell a t-shirt for $19.99. Let's just say it's $20. It takes about $10 to print a t-shirt and ship it. So my profit is $10, and I can either pocket that as profit or put it back into the business in order to create more designs or do more marketing, etc. Let's say I make $5 of pure profit from a t-shirt sale. Then, of course, it's clearly understood that to make $5,000, I need to sell 1,000 t-shirts, and I can extrapolate that math very easily. That's the core of the financials. Obviously, all of these components, the marketing, the finances, are at the end more complex, but the 3-sentence business plan really helps to just look at the core and focus on it and test, is this accurate? Will it work? Because it's so simple. The simplicity is what makes this effective. Now, lastly, let's take a look at another example of a very popular kind of a company. This is Thrive. It's a digital marketing agency. Like if you have a business and you want to hire marketing help, this company provides that help. What's their 3-sentence business plan? Well, obviously the first sentence, the product, they're a digital marketing agency. What's the marketing strategy for them? It's publicity, search engine optimization, because as you can see, when I searched digital marketing agency on Google, these are ads. This is the Google map, and number 2 result was them. So they rank really highly on Google search. So SEO was obviously a big marketing strategy for them. So is social media. So is influencer marketing. Because if I was running an agency that helps people with marketing, I would do my own extremely good marketing and explain to people like on YouTube and other social media how to do marketing so that people can see that I have the expertise. And of course, referrals and so on are also a very common marketing strategy for agencies. And of course, they might run ads, but this is it. These are the core marketing strategies. It fits into one sentence because you just list a few marketing strategies together. Now, how do the finances work? Very easy. It takes a certain amount of money to acquire a client. It takes a certain amount of money to provide the marketing services to that client. That's the cost. And you subtract that from what you charge the client. Like let's say the client spends $100,000. You spend $10,000 acquiring them and providing the service. The profit is the $90,000. Very easy to calculate. So you see, again, it really fits comfortably within the 3-sentence business plan. Now, are there additional challenges and business model components like building out a team, etc.? Yes, of course. But that's a little bit of a second step after you've nailed down your core 3 aspects: the product, the marketing, the finances. So hopefully now you can, for your business, isolate those 3 most important components and then write them down and build out from them. As you encounter other components in your business, they will just be footnotes or extrapolations of your 3-sentence business plan. In this video, let's discuss the subscription business model. It's an incredibly powerful business model because, as the name suggests, it's a subscription, so it implies long-term use and long-term engagement. Because imagine if a person buys from you one time, that's great, but a subscription can get you, let's say if it's a monthly subscription, that's 12 purchases. That's 1,200% more revenue. But what if the subscription goes on perpetually? Well, after 2 years, it's 2,400% more revenue, and so on and so on. It's incredibly powerful, and many companies covet this subscription model, and they want to implement it in their business. It's not always possible because if you have a one-time use product, well, how can you get a subscription to it? We'll actually discuss that a little bit later in this video, but it's incredibly prevalent across many domains. There's B2C subscriptions. You may be subscribing to Netflix, the Dollar Shave Club, or there are many subscription services popping up where they send you a box of something every month. Different. I've seen different curated meats on a subscription basis sent, and it's a subscription. In brick and mortar situations, there's also subscription models where the gym is a perfect example. In the gym, you also have this scenario that many people, gym members, subscribe to the gym, go for a few months, but they get a monthly subscription, monthly membership. And even if they don't go for a month or two, like they quit, they think to themselves, I'm going to get back in the gym. And so they don't cancel the subscription. And so they get billed monthly, even if they stop using the product or service, as opposed to if it was just a item you had to buy each time, they wouldn't buy it, right? So that way you also amplify your revenue as a subscription-based business. Now the challenge, and maybe the biggest hurdle in a subscription-based business as a business, is to convince people to subscribe, because people know that I might stop using this service and I might keep paying for things I don't need. Many consumers have that mindset because they've done this themselves. They think, I know I would like it now, but I don't know if I'll want it in 3 months. So why subscribe? And so there's a hurdle. To counter this hurdle, you can create what's called consumable products. Think of food. You don't subscribe to food, you just go to the store. I mean, you could subscribe to food. There are subscription models like companies send you dinner, almost pre-made dinner. You just have to heat it, different dinner each month. That's a very common subscription model, but that's a small part of the overall food pie, right? Usually, most people just buy things in a store, but in a store, items are consumable. If you eat yogurt, you buy a yogurt. Next day you eat the yogurt, you run out of yogurt. What you have no choice. You consumed it, you gotta buy it again. And that acts like a subscription model, sometimes even better, because on a subscription model there is a cap. You subscribe for $9.99 each month, the company can't earn more. But if the product is great, maybe I want like 20 yogurts in one day. Well, there's no cap, so I can actually buy more with consumables that are great, which actually even gets extended. Because imagine that scenario of going to the store and looking at yogurts. You don't just buy one yogurt. You might want to buy one yogurt, but you go and you're like, well, blueberry yogurt looks good. The raspberry yogurt looks good. The other one looks good. And suddenly you're like, I want to try all the yogurts. This is a catalog business model where, buy the consumables, but buy the entire catalog because it all looks attractive. You rarely see one type of one thing. A brand usually has a chocolate flavor, a vanilla flavor, another flavor, so consumers can try it all, which amplifies their revenue, right? So this is the interplay of what you have to think about. How does your product fit into these three models? The subscription model, the catalog model, and the consumable model. you have to really mold exactly what you can offer. For example, let's say you want to offer a widget. It's a one-time purchase widget. Not so good. Or you have a mobile app and people use it once and that's it. It's okay, but it's not so good and it doesn't fit any of these models. You cannot take advantage of any of them. For example, when I, years ago, had a mobile app, it was kind of a short-term use mobile app. You used it and you kind of put it away. It was a business planning app. People could use the app to plan businesses, to write a business plan. It was convenient, but it was a one-time use and it was a struggle because I wanted people to retain clients long-term. So I thought, how can I change this? So there's regular use and the features that I added. This is the molding of your business to adjust and adapt to this model. So the molding that I did is I thought of features that could work. For example, what if you can ask 5 questions a month from a business expert or whatever number, right? But you get that service regularly because the idea is that you would run your business and you would run it for the long term, so you would have questions regularly. Well, that would be a subscription model. I can also improve that by saying you subscribe to 5 questions, but if you need another question to ask, like if you have 6 questions, what do? You only get 5 questions. Well, that's a consumable model where, okay, the 5 questions are for, let's say, $9.99 a month, which is pretty affordable, but entrepreneurs have questions every day. So maybe a super user can ask like 100 questions, and so that's a consumable, right? And the way I would use the catalog in this is maybe I would have different experts, an expert on marketing, an expert on business strategy, and so consumers can ask business questions, marketing questions. When they run out of those, what is next? Finance questions, what is next? Legal questions, you see? So I could have a catalog of types of questions and a subscription model so that I can expand my basic offering to take advantage of the subscription model, the consumables model, and the catalog model. In your case, you don't have to adopt all 3 or any, but it's very powerful if you do. So you want to think about how to structure your offering in such a way, because one of the most well-known subscription services today is Netflix. Who did Netflix beat? Years ago, decades ago now, Blockbuster, which was only a consumable model, right? People went to get a video, they rented it, they returned it, and if they needed it next time, they came back to the store. For other reasons as well, like convenience, Netflix won. Okay, but these are both consumable in the same vein. Netflix is purely subscription, the other one was consumable, and that's how you want to structure yours. You want to see what can you do. Now, from the name, you might also think, well, subscription, that only talks about the revenue stream is a subscription model. What about the rest of my business? Recall from the business model definition, there's many components and key activities and all this, right? So many other components. Why are they disregarded and treated as almost negligible in this case? Precisely because if you can get the subscription model right, where people are actually subscribing, and better yet, buying additional consumables, and better yet, getting everything from your catalog, you have to do anything else you can to make the subscription model work, because it is so powerful and the revenue is so strong and predictable and it's so long-term and just increases over time, that everything else you mold to make the subscription model work. So everything else becomes secondary. The inventory, the customers, the partners, the shipping, all the logistics, make it work, because those are important, but not nearly as important as keeping this beautiful strong revenue stream, that subscription, intact. And that's why it's called the subscription business model. It's not called a subscription and the this and the this and the this, precisely because it's that strong. So definitely, whatever you have, think of the example I gave you with that one-time use mobile app for how to think of features that are subscription based, and then eventually make those features the main product. For example, like the business planning that was originally the app. This is, by the way, years ago. I didn't actually do this because now the app is defunct. I didn't have time to keep updating it. It was kind of around 2012, 13, 14, 15 where I was really working on this app. Now I've moved on. But if I was doing it, of course, I could offer business planning on the app. This is a very popular service. I wouldn't want to drop it. But what I would want to do is switch to, maybe it's an entrepreneur app where entrepreneurs get coaching and all the questions get asked, all that, and that's the revenue model that is most prominent. So I would mold that business and I would almost pivot away from the one-time use towards the subscription use. If the app maintains its popularity, at least somewhat, right? If the app totally drops in popularity, then I have to figure out, okay, well, the subscription model didn't work. How can I change it so that the main feature, that's the business planning, stays? Because again, people come to you for your main value that you offer. So you have to keep your main value, but add those strong revenue streams. That's the trick to getting it right. And hopefully and ideally, the main value is the thing that people subscribe to, but not always. And that's the molding and shaping that we've been discussing in this video. In this video, let's discuss the e-commerce business model. It's one of the most prevalent business models online. If you sell anything online, you use elements of the e-commerce business model. What are the important components? The first is, you want to say sales, but it isn't, because the first is product choice and product sourcing. If you can create a product, like a course, for example, that you make once, and if you need to sell 1,000 or 1,000,000 of it, you can by just copying it, right? You don't even do that much work as copying it. It just copies by itself. In that case, your product needs are solved. But let's say you sell a physical widget, something you hold in your hands. It's also potentially great, but there are many challenges with it. Do you create it? How can you create it? If you can create 1 or 5 or 10, can you create 1,000? Scaling challenges arise. And if you buy it, you'll buy it for an expensive price if it's just a sample of 1 or 5 or 10. And to get the price down, which is what you really want to do, because if you sell it for $10 and you buy it for $1, that's a pretty good, profit, as opposed to compared to if you buy it for $5, well, you keep a lot less of the money. So naturally, you want to keep your costs low, and usually do that by buying inventory in bulk. But the challenge you have when you buy inventory in bulk is that you may never sell that inventory. You wish you do, but it's not always the case. So there is risk, really real risk, by the way. And what do you do before you sell it? Even if you sell it, like, you're not going to sell it all the same day. So you need storage, which means extra expense, which really defeats the purpose of buying in bulk sometimes, because you're buying in bulk to save money, but then you have to spend money on inventory to actually hold the inventory, right? You need storage. So management of the inventory is really challenging, and how you source, whether you buy products, let's say, from overseas, like a very popular option is to buy from China because it's cheaper. These all have risks and challenges. And even prior to that, many people get into the e-commerce business model not because they have a great product to sell, but just because they want to make money. So they don't know what product to sell, and often get into weird products they sell, which they have no expertise in or no passion in, and they can't offer tremendous value beyond just the product, which makes it incredibly competitive, because if they can buy that product somewhere, well, so can tens of thousands of other people. And so they run into this ultra competitive environment. On the other hand, if you can create or source a unique product somehow with a key partner or on your own, if you can make a product, then you can sell it and keep nearly all the revenue. Again, ideally your manufacturing costs would be low, or you would work to drive them lower and lower and lower, and so it would work. Once you get that piece right, the sourcing of the inventory so that it's scalable and it's going to be a popular product for years, because it's going to take you time to figure out how to sell it. You don't want it to become unpopular after you figure out how to sell it. Once you get the inventory and the product right, the next challenge, and really the last challenge, is the marketing. Marketing in e-commerce is incredibly difficult, because if you're selling something, it's very, very, very likely that somebody else is selling exactly that thing or a similar thing. And so you have challenges of competition. Whenever there is a dollar to be made online, there are thousands of people trying to make that dollar. It's just the nature of life. So marketing is so important that you have to gain tremendous expertise in marketing in-house, as opposed to hiring, because if you hire an agency for it, it will be very costly and perhaps cost more than the profits you ultimately end up making. So you have to have great marketing expertise in-house, which for most people means a long learning curve, unfortunately, which is fine. Hard work and learning is fine as long as you do it. The marketing strategies that tend to work are SEO, search engine optimization, is the number one most effective marketing strategy, because when people search, let's say you're selling socks, when people search socks, they already are telling you two things that you don't get from anywhere else. They're telling you exactly what they want, socks, or specifically green fuzzy socks. If they search that and you have that, it's a great match. They're most likely going to buy. And they're telling you another fact, that they want that item right now, which is something you don't get if you advertise out. If you promote on Facebook, you don't know what people are doing now. If you are promoting on social media, you don't know what the people are doing now. So search, that's why it's so coveted, because the client, the leads, the traffic you get is much more highly converting, which means they're going to be more likely to buy than just about any other marketing channel. Of course, search is very competitive, but it's one of the very strong ones. Other than that, people will tell you, promote on social media. But if you don't have a following, it's a hard ask. Most people post on social media and crickets, nobody buys. The way to promote on social media is to post many posts, engage with your potential clients, and then sell, which is a longer road than most businesses would want. If you're in it for the long term, it's a great thing to do, but it's not as effective as it's hyped up to be. It's effective, not as effective as the hype has you believe. Now, other very strong marketing strategies for e-commerce are running ads, which has its own challenges, because, well, sometimes if you don't manage to run the ads profitably, you just lose money, and that no longer becomes a viable option at all. And so the other marketing strategies tend to be not as strong. If you have something very unique, you can get publicity. If you pay influencers, you can get influencers to talk about your product. But again, you're paying, so if you don't do it profitably, you just lose money, right? So it has challenges. So generally speaking, those are the two areas of concern for the e-commerce business, which is good because most businesses have far more challenges. So if you have only the challenge of product sourcing and sales and marketing, that's good because it's a little bit, it seems daunting, and it is, but it could be worse because many other business models have more challenges. But that's the e-commerce business model. Now, one thing I didn't discuss, which I'm going to discuss in the next video, is the marketplace business model, because it's so prevalent, right? Because if you try to sell a product on your own and try to get traffic and struggle, there must be another way, right? Of course there is. You can put that product on Amazon or Etsy, or if a product is specific, like let's say you're trying to sell art, There are art marketplaces. If you're trying to sell a course, there are course marketplaces. There are marketplaces for just about anything you can think of selling. And so let's talk about that business model in the next video. In this video, let's discuss the marketplace business model. It's an incredibly powerful business model because small business owners get to leverage multi-billion-dollar websites. Imagine if you're a small seller, but you get to sell on the biggest store in the world, that's Amazon, and you have a chance to be the biggest seller in your category. That's millionaire making, potentially. So you get the benefit of this incredible scale. And the marketplaces are prevalent in just about any industry. Like I mentioned earlier, Amazon is for physical products. A marketplace like Udemy or Skillshare is for selling online courses. A marketplace for mobile apps is Android App Store or the iPhone App Store. There are many, many marketplaces. If you want to buy freelancing services, the marketplaces are Upwork or Fiverr, and the list goes on and on and on. There's no shortage of marketplaces. It's an incredibly popular business model because if you're a business owner, it's very popular because you take a cut of every single transaction. That's amazing. It's the amount of revenue is substantial, obviously. And if you're a seller, if you actually don't want to start your own marketplace, but you want to sell your products, if you have an e-commerce business, right? If you have a product to sell and you're struggling to sell on social media, like we discussed in the previous video, or SEO takes a while and you can't get publicity and the ads don't work, what is your next best option? Place your products on marketplaces. So with a marketplace, you can take advantage of that in two different ways. To create a marketplace is very, very hard because you have to get a critical mass of buyers and sellers at the same time with enough options so they don't run out of options. And it takes money because you, one, have to pay for a lot of engineering, but two, have to pay for a lot of ads, a lot of publicity, so you can get that incredible scale of usability, not by one type of consumer, but by two kinds of consumers, the providers and the consumers, right? In Amazon, it would be the sellers and the buyers. On freelancing sites, it would be, again, the sellers and the buyers. You have to have a lot of them, or the buyers leave, and then the sellers don't make money, and then they leave. So that's the challenge, is you need a lot of money usually. These companies are typically companies that are invested in by professional investors, and their goal is just to reach critical mass. Once critical mass is reached, where there's enough of both, it takes off, because that's the value of that business, is that they have that almost no one else has. The greatest source of options that are good for both. The sellers can make money, the buyers can have great options, and when there's a lot of competition among the sellers, the buyers get a great set of options. The buyers get a better experience. That's that. But in the last video, we were talking about the e-commerce business model. And the e-commerce business model, if you're a small business trying to sell, leveraging marketplaces is a great option. And in my experience, it's been my favorite of all the things I've ever tried in my online career, which is like 20 years. The marketplace has been my favorite. It doesn't mean that it's the best for everyone, but it's just me, anecdotally, it's my favorite. And I sell my books on Amazon. I promoted my mobile apps in the app stores marketplace. I sell my courses on course marketplaces. So I do it time and time again. I love it. Even my videos, I put them on YouTube. It's not a traditional marketplace because there's no buying and selling, but it has a marketplace model where there's content creators, content consumers. That I love because it's so much better to leverage a gigantic company with billions of people in traffic, or at least hundreds of millions, than my own tiny website in comparison. So the challenges with a marketplace model is that as a seller, you have to abide by the marketplace rules, which some rules are fine, like be honest, be ethical. Of course you would do that. But some rules are a little bit intrusive, like they tell you how you can name your product, how you can brand your product. how you can promote it within that ecosystem. So it's a little bit intrusive to your strategy sometimes. A lot of people don't like the marketplaces for that. They impose their own rules, which may not correlate with how you want to run your business. A lot of people voice that concern. And the other concern is that there's incredible competition. If you sell a widget, most likely you're competing with other widget sellers, which drives the price lower, which is a trend on marketplaces. If you sell on your own site, you can probably sell the same thing for a higher price, as opposed to if you sell on a marketplace, you sell it at a lower price, and you have to pay a commission to the marketplace. So it's lower and lower, which a lot of people don't like. That is made up for by volume. The marketplaces have volume. So if you make $1 but sell 100,000 of your widgets, okay, that's pretty good, right? $100,000 in profit. But it's volume. If you cannot get that volume on a marketplace, like let's say you sell an unpopular product where you cannot outcompete the incumbent successful sellers, then you're going to struggle in the marketplace, which, if you're already struggling in other places, it's not like so much worse. Like if you're struggling in social media and SEO, okay, you're struggling with one more thing. But if you are running an e-commerce business, it's great to get your social media working, your SEO working, your marketplace marketing working. That's the panacea. That's the best case. But usually, just getting one of those working really well tends to bring in a significant enough amount of revenue to sustain your business. And once the business is sustained, over the long term, you can perfect the other places. You can take your profit. You can hire somebody who's an expert in Amazon and get your product number one in Amazon. You take that profit. You can hire somebody who's good in SEO or social media and get your products more prominent there. And so over time, you will do well in the e-commerce across the board. But early on, you just need to find that one revenue stream that works. Go all in on that, make it really work for you, and use the profits to sustain your business and win in other marketing channels of that business. And that will help your e-commerce business by adding this piece where you can sell in a marketplace as an option. That's a really, really strong option. On its own, you can only sell in a marketplace or in combination with your other marketing channels to make your e-commerce business really go. So that's the end of the conversation for the e-commerce business model, and it's the conversation itself in the marketplace business model as well. With this video, I want to introduce you to the business model canvas. This is the Wikipedia page for it, just to help me share the basics with you. What the business model canvas is if I click on this picture and enlarge it, as you can see, it's a canvas where if all these fields were blank with just the titles, you can see it's key partners, key activities, key resources, etc., etc. So these are the major components that may belong to a business. Of course, let's say your business doesn't depend on key partners. You may not have key partners, but generally speaking, it's broad and general enough that you can enter whatever applies for your business here. Like you can enter your key partners, your key activities, and this just helps you plan and organize everything in one place. So let me explain what the business model canvas is, what it isn't, what it's useful for, and what it's not useful for. Because in the field of business modeling, it's a big brand, a big title, but just like anything else, it doesn't solve everything. One thing it doesn't do is it doesn't actually help you create better strategies. Because as you can see, the business model canvas is a strategic management template. It's just a template, nothing more. Templates are helpful, but they are just templates. You're the one who fills them out. The reason it's really helpful is because it has this very nice visual layout where you can see how many of the important components of your business work well with other important components of your business. The business model canvas was developed by Alexander Osterwalder, as you can see here, in 2005, as he was working on his PhD project. And for your convenience, I have a blank one that you can download from the resources of this video and use for your own needs. Ours will look like this, And you may notice that it's pretty basic with just 9 different fields. So you can create one of your own. Let's say you have more emphasis on key partners and you want more space. Well, obviously you can recreate one on your own. It's very basic and easy. You don't need to have boxes like this. You can do it on a piece of paper. Having it as a PDF like this just makes it easy to print out and fill out on your own. So again, you can find this as a downloadable in the resources of this video. So let's talk a little bit about how to best use it and where it's useful. The business model canvas is important because it provides a structured and visual way to conceptualize, develop, and refine your business ideas. So you can see, this business idea has a good strategy in some of the components, but not some of the others. That's why the visual representation is so helpful. It gives you a holistic view of your business from kind of a bird's eye view. And that helps you spot big errors or big gaps in your planning and resolve those issues early while it's still cheap. Also, as you can see, one of the very central things is the value proposition. It's incredibly important to provide value to your customers, and a lot of the other components help you accomplish that. Your key activities, your key partners, your key resources are all aligned, and you strategize them to provide value to your customers, which should ultimately lead directly to your revenue streams. So the value propositions are central. The key partners, key activities, and key resources are things you need to do and things you need to build out to strengthen your value proposition. Then next two important things are your customer relationships and distribution channels, which directly leads to revenue streams, and then cost structure so that everything happens in a financially sound way, so that everything is profitable. So you can see how everything is centered around the value propositions. And if you kind of go in a clockwork order in this template, you'll end up building out your business in a relatively complete way. That's why this template is very good and effective. It's a good guide and it helps to structure your thinking. Because if you're wondering, what part should I plan next? Or what should be the next thing? I'm a little lost. What's the next step? The business model canvas does provide a little bit of structure for you. And the other value of it is that it really simplifies complex concepts. It's also pretty easy to change and modify, so it's quite flexible. And because it's visual and shareable, it also encourages collaboration between your team members. So in the next video, let's actually go over an example where I may plan a business model from scratch using the business model canvas so you can see how to use it in action. In this video, I want to show you an example of the business model canvas in practice by using a real example for an e-commerce business, specifically an online store selling funny t-shirts. It's a basic business, but it's incredibly widely applicable because it's e-commerce. Many of the principles would apply in many of other e-commerce business situations. And the reason I didn't fill this out in the visual format of the template of the business model canvas is just because me doing this online, it's actually a lot simpler to visualize and see if I go through these items one by one in a Word document. But the elements of the business model canvas are here. So let's go through them one by one. The value proposition is pretty simple. In our particular case, we sell funny t-shirts. So our value proposition is that we sell funny t-shirts that serve as icebreakers. You wear a funny t-shirt, people read it, they go ha ha ha, and it creates a nice moment. Also, these kinds of t-shirts can be great gifts. That's the other value proposition. Pretty basic here. Now, key partners for this business, certainly you need manufacturing partners. Or if you have a different kind of an e-commerce business and you get your products in a different way, you still need those partners who actually create the product. Now, sometimes you can manufacture the products in-house, and sometimes you can outsource it or buy it externally. Obviously, if you manufacture in-house, you don't need a manufacturing partner, but nevertheless, you still have partners in that sense because, well, you need the materials. So you need to get some partners to provide you the materials so you can manufacture. Then, of course, there are shipping partners, and perhaps you have marketing partners like influencers who may promote the t-shirts. Now, what are the key activities for this kind of a business? The most important activities are design, because you can print the t-shirts, but the designs should generally be made in-house. And of course, the marketing is a key activity. You want to promote the t-shirts and generate sales. Without sales, there's no business here. Now, key resources. Resources can be different things. For example, design staff, marketing staff, that's a resource. Also, your branding, perhaps your logo is getting more popular over time, and that's becoming a resource because people buy for the logo, because hopefully it becomes a recognized brand long term. And obviously, a major part of the resources is the intellectual property, that's designs, the actual t-shirt designs. That's a tremendous resource because if you have great design, that really sets you apart. Next, we have customer relationships. Obviously, you want to provide great customer service and have regular sales and maybe an email newsletter to re-engage your past buyers so they can buy again. And you can also do this with social media. Next on our list are customer segments. It's very important to understand the different kinds of demographics of our customers. Of course, there are gift shoppers. Then there are individual buyers, but also there may be bulk buyers. Perhaps you have a beautiful design of something and some store decides to buy 1,000 of those t-shirts to sell in their brick and mortar stores. And they just want to buy your clothing in bulk and resell. Those are also a type of a customer segment. Now, regarding distribution channels, you may choose to sell in boutique and brick and mortar stores or through websites like Amazon and Etsy. There are marketplaces. And in addition to the marketplaces, you may decide to sell on your own website. Those are all distribution channels. Now, your cost structure, the major costs would be staff and marketing activities. So designers comprise a major cost, product printing and creation is a major cost, and obviously marketing activities. And revenue streams is the last part of it. Of course, you're going to make the bulk of your money with the sales of the t-shirts, of course, because it's a t-shirt sales business, right? But also, just for example's sake, you might publish ads on your website. It's not really recommended for e-commerce businesses because you'll make more money by actually selling the product. So you don't want to disfocus the customers by showing them ads of some other brands. But just as an option for me to show you as an example here, you could have a secondary revenue stream, which is publishing ads on your website. And you can also have another revenue stream, which is maybe you take custom orders and you print custom t-shirts for people. Now, this also wouldn't be a great idea because a custom order of a single shirt perhaps wouldn't be a lot of revenue, but it will be quite a time distraction for your employees, so it might backfire. But on the other hand, if you have custom orders, let's say for 1,000 t-shirts for some store, then it might be lucrative. In any case, every business handles this on a case-by-case basis. But what I wanted to show you here is how you might fill out every section of the business model canvas so that you can see how everything works well together. It's all in one place and it's easy to wrap your mind around it. Now, one challenge. Let's say your CEO comes in tomorrow and says, you know what? We're not doing the purely e-commerce business model anymore. We're changing our entire business model. We want to change this to a subscription business model. Basically, customers would subscribe to your subscription service and get a new funny t-shirt every month. So they get 12 t-shirts a year, they subscribe, and they get t-shirts shipped. Such a drastic change rarely happens in the real world, but sometimes it does, and sometimes there are more minor shifts. So I just wanted to use that as an example of how you may use the flexibility of the business model canvas to adapt to your new business requirements. So you know that you're going to have an additional or an entirely changed value proposition. It's a subscription service. So monthly new t-shirts. Now, your key partners would actually stay the same. Key activities would actually stay the same. Key resources would actually stay the same. Same with customer relationships, maybe slightly different with customer segments. You'd have to find who wants a monthly t-shirt. That's either still gift shoppers, they can buy a whole annual subscription for somebody, or super users out of the individual buyers who are really into the idea of new funny t-shirts. And you see, the marketing channels would change because you cannot sell a subscription service on Etsy and Amazon, so the majority of your sales would come from your own website. So you see, some parts change, but it's almost like if you're building a car and let's say, okay, you want to keep the car but swap out the door, you can swap out the door and everything else is the same, so you don't have to rebuild the car. Same thing here. You can swap out little elements of your strategy, but the bulk of the strategy, the bulk of the business would stay the same in most cases. Because obviously, when it comes to business, across different industries, things can vary so much that it's hard to predict sometimes. But in most cases, that's what you would expect. You would create your business model canvas, and whenever there are changes that arise, new business environments, new challenges, you can reference the business model canvas, make changes that need to be changed according to the business requirements, and then go through all the other elements and see what has to be adjusted so that you don't have to start planning from scratch and you can reuse a lot of the things and processes that you've already put in place. And that's why the business model canvas is so helpful, because you don't have to get lost and re-strategize everything from scratch. You'll only have to re-strategize a very small number of things. With this video, let's begin a new section, perhaps the most exciting section of this course, because in this section, you're going to learn how to do business strategy and business model innovation, which is a process by which you think of how you can take an existing business and change some components of it to deliver better value or capture value in a way that's better, that gives you a competitive advantage over the rest of your industry that doesn't yet do this. So it's a creative exercise by and large, but not randomly creative, but creative by using elements of business models that we've been learning about earlier. And you'll get to see how to interchange components, almost like technology is built today. There are probably 50 parts of a technology gadget, but if one part breaks, it's replaceable, and you can just replace another, keep the entire design the same, but just swap in one component. It's how cars are built, it's how gadgets are built, it's how rockets are built. You just swap in components, and that's a close analogy to what business model innovation might be, where most of the business stays the same, but there's certain components that get innovated on and really transform the business. It's very exciting, and this is where you really play chess, or 4D chess, as people say, compared to playing checkers, where you really get to create stronger strategies that hopefully unlock business opportunities that are substantial, like 100x, 1000x. Think of the example of the impact of Uber over the world of taxi. And if you create the next Uber, a lot of it is through business model innovation. This is the biggest thing about Uber, is they innovated on that entire older business model, creating something better and new. And that's what you're going to learn to do in this section. So with that, let's begin. In this video, let's go over an example of business model innovation. And we'll take the example of a company like Nike. Most people know Nike. They make shoes first and foremost, and they make additional exercise apparel, and they sell them in stores. Pretty easy to understand. But let's say you're Nike and you're thinking, how can we sell more shoes? We have a certain set of customers. How can we sell more shoes to them? And you have to innovate on your business model. So here's a suggestion that I came up with 10 minutes ago as I was thinking of what examples should I provide in this course. I was thinking, and I thought, oh, I'm really excited about this one. Here it is. And this is new. Nike doesn't currently do this. I don't know if they have any plans to do this. It just kind of popped into my head precisely because I am aware of how to model business models, how to tinker with different components. So here is my example. What if you created an initiative? If you're Nike, you're saying, we're going to do this global challenge of getting everybody to be healthy and to try new sports. And we're going to do a new sport every month challenge. So if you sign up for this challenge, like in the first month, everybody's going to get tutorials and tips, maybe through an app or maybe through some social media content. How do you play soccer? And they're going to organize little soccer games all over the world. Pick up soccer for beginners, soccer. Okay, that's this month. Now for soccer, people need soccer shoes, soccer balls, soccer shirts, soccer jackets, right? They can buy that from Nike. Great. Next month, volleyball. Okay, now the people need different shoes, different shirts, different balls, right? You get it, right? Next month, they're doing swimming. Okay, Nike caps for swimming, right? So this way, they create these new initiatives. It's a boxing month, it's a running month, it's a triathlon month, right? Different month, and there's a few dozen major sports. Like if you look at Olympics, there's maybe like 100 sports overall, so they can cycle this a lot. And people who are really into this, and I think this would be great for people because I myself, I'm kind of stuck on the same sports and the same exercises that I do for myself, and I'm a little bored, and it would be great to have exposure to new things. I would totally sign up for that. Because, it's healthy, it's fun, you might meet new people, but also you get like exposure to a new exercises that you really might not try because, how do I get into volleyball? I don't even know where to start, where people play, I don't know. So I kind of just, and not just me, but most people just don't take the initiative to find new exercises that they like. They just mostly stay with their existing ones. So it would be very welcomed by many, many people, but just inadvertently, they would need new gear because you don't want to come to play soccer with running shoes. It will just feel awkward, right? You can play a couple of times, but you need running soccer shoes to play soccer. You'll play better and have more fun. Same thing with volleyball, same thing with boxing. You need the gloves, you need whatever. So that way, it can be a subscription model where Nike can say, hey, this month we're doing soccer and we're sending you soccer supplies. Give us your size, your shoe size, shirt size, and we're going to send you soccer supplies. Next month, we're going to send you volleyball supplies. So you're already ready, right? And that's a great business model innovation because me personally, maybe I buy a Nike shoe like once a year, once every 2 years or something. But this way, I would buy a lot of gear every month. Now, that's business model innovation. It's a subscription, but it doesn't have to be a subscription because if people don't want to subscribe, they can just buy equipment when they need to. So the people just will buy more of Nike gear, perhaps not as much as if they sign up for a subscription, but still more. And that would be an innovation on their business model. They would no longer just sell shoes online one at a time or apparel one at a time or in a store one at a time, but have the subscription model. It's just a little bit of innovation. Now, are there challenges to this? Of course, because you need to hire a whole new team. How do you get people playing the same game globally? Maybe there's just not enough soccer fields or whatever the challenges might be. I'm sure they've thought of this internally because, they're smarter than me probably. I mean, for sure, because it's a whole company. They're smarter than me, so I'm sure they've thought of it. Maybe just because they're a gigantic company, it's hard to make big changes. It's easy for me to think of it. It's hard for them to implement something globally. So maybe there are challenges to it, but certainly I see the light at the end of the tunnel for how their current business model can get business model innovated on and become better. In this video, I'm going to give you another example of business model innovation, this time with Coca-Cola. Most people know Coca-Cola. You just go and buy the drinks in a store, no brainer. But globally, soft drinks sales are sort of down. It's not an exciting field of growth. So if you're Coca-Cola, you're thinking, how can I add excitement to this and how can I inject new life into this? And how can I get people to buy more of our drinks? And so this is just something I thought of for the sake of this example. How can you get people to drink this regularly? Now, actually, personally, I wouldn't want people to drink this regularly because it's just not healthy. So I would not support this. I would actually support drinking less of Coca-Cola. But for our example, pretend you are an executive at Coca-Cola. How do you get people to drink more? My answer would be, what if we create a subscription program for people who already buy Coca-Cola to buy Coca-Cola monthly? So you'd get sent Coca-Cola direct to consumer. But the new wrinkle would be that, sometimes Coca-Cola comes out with like interesting designs on the cans or bottles, and then people are like, ooh, it's new. It's not new. The drink is the same. The bottle is new. So what if you got some kind of exclusive, only through this particular program, exclusive cool designs of the cans? So instead of the regular like Coca-Cola, it would be like a design that has, everything that happens this month. Maybe it's like some major holiday is happening, or there's some major thing that historically happened this month. And so the can would be a little bit like, if you go to Google and, Google is the same Google, but they have like, if it's some holiday or some anniversary, they have a little picture like Google Art. Maybe you would have the same on a Coca-Cola can, something commemorative for, or interesting or fun for people who drink. And maybe it can become a collector's item. And maybe there can be rare ones. And so maybe, like, if it's something is a cool design, like art, right? People start to collect it. Now, it's a little bit silly to collect Coca-Cola cans, but if the cans themselves are beautiful, then why not all of a sudden? And so suddenly there would be this whole new thing, like, I have these cool cans, you don't. Other people want these cool cans. Now, this is not nearly as strong as my idea in the previous video for the Nike business model innovation, because that one I thought was really something special, because the initiative was great and the amount of apparel you can sell is tremendous. But here, with just the design improvement, I think the lift would be far smaller because the value proposition is far less interesting. But still, it's a different business model. And again, it's a subscription, right? So getting people to buy more regularly. So that way we have innovated on the business model, just not as well. So it also shows you that if you think outside the box long enough, you might come up with ideas, but they're not all created equal. Some ideas are substantially better than others, and you gotta keep brainstorming until you come up with the better one. In this video, let's do something a little bit different and turn our examples into an exercise that you can do so you can reinforce your learning. I'm going to give you my answer in the next video, but I want you to first do this as an exercise. So for example, let's say you're the CEO of McDonald's and you're thinking, McDonald's, okay, people know us like super unhealthy and we don't treat the animals particularly well in many cases. At least that's the concept that I personally understand. Because, it's like not very well kept farms because they have to do everything cheaply, and so they have to cut costs on how they raise the animals, etc. And then the cooking methods are also kind of very, very extremely fast, so also not the best process, everything not so good, right? And so it turns a lot of people off, because today what's important? Health is a big trend in business, healthy options. Its sustainability is incredibly important, right? People want a sustainable planet. They want better things for the animals. These kinds of things. And with that in mind, if you're the CEO of McDonald's and you see these trends that are completely opposite of how your business operates today, you have to business model innovate. You got to make some changes because, the global trends are not in line with how you run your business today. So my question for you, and this is your exercise, how would you change your business model if you are McDonald's? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not creating a subscription model. Well, it's not much of a hint, but that's the examples we've gone on before. This time it's going to be how you actually produce the products and how you actually run the business. You might still have restaurants. It's not like you're going to ship products to people's homes. I'm not talking about that. You still are going to have restaurants that people go to, but something else has to change. So think about how you would innovate on the McDonald's business model that's currently there. And in the next video, I'm going to give you my answers. In this video, I'm going to give you my answer to the exercise we did in the previous video of how would you innovate on the McDonald's business model. But our answers won't have to be the same because it's a creativity exercise. So as long as you're thinking about it, it's already good. And I'll just show you how I'm thinking about it so you can compare results. But again, as long as you're thinking in the same kind of a way, in the same thought pattern, without necessarily coming up with exactly my solution, it's still good. So what I would do is I would recognize, sustainability is really important. Health is really important. So sustainability, I would maybe offer at least one plant-based item in a McDonald's menu. Something for people who want to be healthier. It's plant-based. So maybe it's some made out of vegetables, like however they make the item. I'm not an expert in cooking, but they would make one plant-based item, and perhaps they would run an initiative where they say, we are contacting local farms to see how we can work with local farms, how local McDonald's can work with local farms to get sustainably raised or well-treated animal meats. Because, they can't totally switch to plant-based diet. I mean, it would be an example of a business model innovation where one day McDonald's says, hey, we're just doing plant-based, no more beef burgers, just plant-based. That would be an example of a business model innovation, but it would be quite extreme where all of their entire user base, customer base, would get affected, and it might actually negatively impact the current customer base because the current customer base has other meat-based options like Burger King, which they might flock to, and it might ruin McDonald's business. If a lot of people revolt, if a lot of your customers revolt, they don't like your changes, they go to a competitor. So you don't totally stop what you're doing, you still satisfy them, your current customers, but you provide options for new potential customers. So people who care about animal safety and health and sustainability and their own health would go to McDonald's for the plant-based meals. So that's how I would innovate on the current McDonald's business model. It's twofold. Sustainably raised animals and well-treated animals, that's one. And two is just a plant-based option for people who eat plant-based or who don't want to eat meat. So that's my innovation on the McDonald's business model. And if you have a better one that you think is more interesting, add that to the Q&A of the course, and I'll be excited to take a look and we can discuss in the comments. With this video, I want to introduce the section of the course which is going to focus on creating business systems. Business systems are an advanced way of thinking and strategizing about a business. It's something that gives your business a long-term foundation to do well. Generally speaking, it's a documented set of procedures that outlines how to achieve business tasks or how to run the full business. And there are two elements at play here. It has to be documented and it has to have a set of procedures that people can follow. Because at first, you figure out all the procedures, but later you have to hand over those procedures to either be worked on by people or automated by machines or software. So you need to provide the step-by-step instructions to run certain tasks. But if all of your business or a large part of your business can be run that way, then you have a business system. And so what it allows you to do is you can accomplish much more with fewer people on your staff, and the people who do work do less manual work. And it's less error prone because there is a step-by-step procedure for every task you need to accomplish. So what that means for you as management, you can step back and focus on high-level challenges and high-level strategy and high-level thinking while the business runs smoothly on its own. And as time goes on, you can take more and more of a step back while the business essentially runs like a cohesive system that's independent. It can keep running without you. And that's the beauty of it. Long term, that's what you want to achieve. In the short term, you got to figure out every step. But in the long term, that's where you want to get to. Because that's how businesses can scale with smaller teams that are also more efficient. And even if you don't have a business, but you have projects, this is still a good way of thinking because it can help you make things a lot more efficient. So with that, let's proceed to the next videos in this section where we're going to dive more deeply into creating business systems. In this video, I want to introduce a very famous business book which will help you understand how to build business systems from scratch. The book is called E-Myth Revisited. It's the entrepreneurship myth. It is really one of the cornerstone business books. So let's go over what this book covers. It was originally published in 1990 and republished in 2004. That's the revisited part. And it talks about 3 roles in a company. The technician, person who can do the job. That technician, they can do a job. For example, if you can write code, or if you can fix a home and do home repair, or if you can cook. Sometimes the technician thinks that they can run a business, and that's the E-myth, that it takes more skills. This book teaches a technician to become a manager who can run the business and do marketing and be a leader and create organization and do management. And most people, they will be a technician, somebody who can do a skill. Maybe you can design something, maybe you can write, maybe you can do anything, but you haven't built a business on top of that skill yet, and that's what this book covers. So the book explains how the technician can become a manager and tries to give them those skills, and then after you've got those skills, the book teaches you how to become an entrepreneur. But my interpretation of the book is that this particular book uses the word entrepreneur almost like the word leader is used today, because that leader is the one that helps to grow and scale the business and motivate others. And also the book talks about creating replicable business systems so that other people can just come in and just reproduce the business system so that you don't have to manage everything. And the book talks about 3 business stages. The initial business startup stage is precisely when the technician is needed, because in the beginning, you're going to be the one getting the clients and doing the work. But as the business grows, you're going to expand, and you're going to need to know how to manage this business. You're going to need to know how to manage people and hire and get those skills. And then as the business matures, which is the 3rd stage of the business, the entrepreneur and leadership skills are needed so that you can create leaders beneath you who can motivate teams and lead teams and really create a well-oiled machine. So you see how this book takes almost a pre-startup company with just a person and skills and an idea, and can guide that person to every step needed to the maturity and growth stage of the business. So that's what this book covers. And the real reason why most people remember this book is that it explains the failure point of early stage companies. Why do people fail? Because when the technician can do the job, they cannot yet do the business of this business, like the marketing, the leadership, the management, the organization, can only do the skill. And most people cannot come out of their comfort zone beyond just doing the job into learning all these skills. That's the fault point, and that's the E-myth. People think because they can do the job, they can do the business, but they cannot. So they have to learn these additional skills. That's the major takeaway of this book, and in my belief, what's made it so important for entrepreneurs to understand. And once you understand it, you can go, aha, idea moment. I've got to learn these other skills and become more than just somebody who can do the job and learn the marketing and all that stuff. So that's E-Myth Revisited, really good book for entrepreneurs. In this video, I want to give you an example of a business system. A business system is an advanced way to make a business strategy. And the example I'll be giving you is with a t-shirt store that at one time before I created, and then I had to kill it off because I just didn't have enough time to run it, and I wanted to spend more time with my music. So I made a decision to use that time to just pursue the art instead of business. But still, I liked that business as a business, and I liked the business system that I'm going to show you. So let's look at if that business did grow, because I'm in the middle of kind of killing that off. But if it did grow, here was the business system I was aiming to create. And the example I'll be giving you is with waveifyoulike.com. It's a t-shirt store. I'll show you the store so that you understand the concept. This is the website right now. It's just t-shirt, and it's a specific kind of t-shirt. It's a social t-shirt, meaning let's say I zoom in on one of the shirts.
Like this hiking shirt, for example. Well, if I zoom in, you'll see it's wave if you like hiking. So if you're wearing this shirt, whether you're hiking or just on the street, and somebody passes by you and they see this and they also like hiking, they might wave at you and you might share a special moment. It might be an icebreaker. You may become friends or just share a smile. So it creates nice moments throughout people's days. And the whole brand is wave if you like. So all the shirts are wave if you like, but on different topics ranging from boxing to avocado to soccer to hiking to cats to dogs and so on and so on. So when most people open an online store, they're pretty easy to open. You can set one up in like a day online, no problem. What do? They go sell, and obviously make maybe few sales or no sales. And the few sales will be from their friends and family who just want to support them. But really no sales to speak of for most people. That's on day one. Then on day two, they're out of ideas. Oh my God, what to do? And of course, they don't want to do a lot of tedious work because they didn't foresee the tedious work. They just foresaw they're just going to sell. And so because they don't want to do the work and they don't really know what else to do for marketing, they start to turn to ads. How can I run ads? They run ads for a little bit or hire somebody to run ads for a little bit. And by approximately week 2, they've just lost a bunch of money on creating the website if they hired anyone, buying inventory if they bought inventory, and they lost money having run the ads. And so by week 2, they're out of ideas, lost money, pretty much ready to quit, not necessarily admitting to quitting. The business itself might linger, like, the website is still up, but they're not going to be putting that much effort into it because they're out of ideas. And like literally everyone that I talk to asks me the same question. How are the sales going? How many have you sold? All these kinds of questions, which to me is a little absurd. So I'm like, stop. There's none of that. Sell. I'm not even thinking about selling right now. Who cares if I sell 1 or 2 or 5 shirts? This money is negligible. I know better. So what is it that I know better? I know that to create a real business, you need a business system. What goes into that? In this particular e-commerce store, I'll need a website design to look professional. You can't promote anything until it's a professional, good-looking store and highly converting, meaning that when people come to the pages and look at the shirts, they buy at a high rate. And extensible. Extensible means, like, say I want to have jackets or hoodies or hats in the future. The design should easily fit that, so I don't have to redesign my whole site. Sell, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, maybe in 3 months, depending on how fast I get everything else right. But right now, I'm focusing on setting up the foundation. The business system is the foundation. After the website, what else do I need? I need designs. I'm right now hiring tens of designers behind the scenes. All of them, I'm testing them for skills in design, for how easy it is for me to work with them. And I'm taking the best designs and merging best designs and seeing what the cumulative power of all of them can come up with. So any design you see now may or may not be the same in the future, because right now everybody's asking me, well, the designs are not so good, or the designs can be improved, and they think the designs are final. And I'm like, no, you have no idea. I'm literally going through so many iterations of designs. You just don't see it because I'm behind the scenes creating a system. What I'll want in the future is to have 2 to 5 designers that I can depend on, who understand my design taste, who already have designed many similar designs, which we figured out really works. And then overnight, they'll be able to crank out designs, and I'll be able to get many designs in the future, even designs that are topical. Let's say some celebrity falls today. Tomorrow I'll have a t-shirt with that design without hurting my business system. So that's another thing that's foundational, the staff and the skills. Next, there's marketing automation. Well, how do you sell this? This is brandable. Because it's kind of a cute, catchy, wave if you like social thing, you can have publicity for this. I'm working on creating an affiliate program for resellers. So for example, if I give 25% commissions for sales and creating an army of people who are reselling my shirts for a commission. Also, I'm doing SEO, search engine optimization, figuring out how to run ads, and the shirts themselves are viral. When somebody wears it, it has a little bit of a viral nature because other people are supposed to wave. So it's a conversation starter. And all of this is hard to do on day one at the same time, but in time, this all has large potential. And right now, again, I'm doing the pre-work, for example, for SEO. The website has to be fast loading. The structure has to be good. There are just things that have to happen before it can all kick in. Next is not only marketing automation, but marketplace automation. That means getting my Amazon store ready, Etsy store ready, Teespring and Redbubble. If you're not familiar with Teespring and Redbubble, they're just t-shirt stores, but they're very big. They can sell a lot. And on any of these places, if you're not very good, you're going to sell almost nothing. But if you're one of the top ones, you're going to sell in the 6 and 7 figures. So in the short term, I don't care about these t-shirt sales. But in the long term, my goal is to build a business system that the brand is so strong that people may search wherever they're comfortable, whether it's Google, whether it's Amazon or Etsy. So all these sales are auto-generated essentially, because I'll also be creating a brand, and that will help me jump over a lot of my competitors on all of these marketplaces. So you see, the potential is big if you set the right foundation. So with all that, only once all of this is ready, then once I have a system, I'm ready to promote. So what does the system look like? I'll be able to get designs and images in one day. I'll be able to upload the designs and images to my website, Amazon, Etsy, Redbubble, Teespring. All the uploads will take like an hour, because in the beginning it will be slow, but once I get the process down, I'll be like click, 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 click. I'll know exactly what to do. Boom. Even though it's a boring, tedious process, I'll be done with it pretty quickly, and I'll have a t-shirt overnight in all of these stores. Then the ads, again, very tedious to set up, but a lot of them, because there's a process, I'll go boom, 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 and the ads are running, the SEO is set, social posts are made. I'll inform the affiliates that a new design is made, a new sale is happening, and they'll start promoting. And so the marketing will start for that shirt too. All automated, all on that same day. There's not much low-level work that I have to do. So in the beginning, I would be mostly doing this myself or closely oversee experts. For example, working with the designers to create better and better shirts, getting feedback from customers. That's me. Working on the website, getting feedback from customers. That's either me or me hiring a designer for my website, but also working closely with them. Most people, beginners, they want to outsource this early because it's all boring, to be honest. It's all tedious work. And a lot of people just don't know how to do a lot of these or don't want to take the time to figure it out. I am going to figure out all of it myself. Once it's all figured out and I can explain to someone, here's the process from A to Z, click here, click here, click here, do this next, do this first, do this second, do this third. And once that works, only then, because there's a process in place and there's a whole system, then I'll hire someone else who's very responsible to oversee this business system, and I can step back. Once I step back, I'll have more time to do publicity, PR, bigger vision things, or bigger marketing things, so that this can be a very widely known brand with minimal staff. And that's the power of having a business system and not being short-term focused, and not having just a short-term focus. So try to use this example to create a business system for any project or business you start, so that it can have the foundation to grow into something very large.